we had such a bad technology. We have the shitty Super 8, then we have the bad video, and then we had the great ideas in those days. And then later on, the people have a great equipment. The iPhone camera is better than what we had in the 70s. And they made shitty works and no content. So now we have to really wait. Doesn't matter how it look like. The idea is important to me. What that idea have to say, what the message we can have, what we can learn from it.
Hey everyone, Kevin Rose here. Welcome to another episode of Proof. Today's interview was a very special one. I sat down with the legendary performance artist Marina Abramović and artist/activist Nadya from Pussy Riot and Unicorn DAO. Now, we've had Nadya on the show before, but let me introduce Marina, one of the most well-known performance artists of our time, also known as the, quote, grandmother of performance art. Her work explores body art, endurance art, feminist art, the relationship between the performer and the audience, the limits of the body, and the possibilities of the mind. We cover many topics today, going back to some of her original performance art in the 1970s, but very relevant to this audience, we cover Marina's first NFT drop that is coming out very soon on the Tezos blockchain. And just a quick shout out to Nadya. Thank you so much for this introduction. I had a wonderful time. Let's chat with them. So Marina and Nadya, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we kind of trust you. Let's see if you're right.
Oh, I will say it is my honor to have you both on. And Marina, I first became aware of your work actually in 2010. Oddly enough, I was in New York at the time, and I went to the MoMA, and I saw you perform there. So quite a while ago, but that was a very important day for me because that's when I first had started reading up about who you are as an artist. So thank you for putting on that show so long ago. That was a lot of fun.
But going to MoMA is one thing. But did you really sit with me?
I did not sit with you. I did not wait in the line to sit with you. But there was quite the showing of people that were there.
So you didn't sit, but you didn't sleep in the front of the museum either.
No, I was just a random passerby. I was lucky enough to get in though because there was quite a few people around you, and it was a fantastic show though. It was I'm really bummed I didn't get a chance to sit with you, but I would love to, for those that are listening to this podcast and they're not familiar with your work, would you mind spending just a few minutes and kind of bringing people up to speed and giving us a little bit on your background and your journey as an artist?
Wow, how many minutes I have for that?
As much as you like. The floor is yours.
No. I try to do the short version. The short version is that I was born in 1946 after the Second World War from their mother and father, who'd been both partisans and both national heroes from Second World War. And my mother dreamed that is giving the birth to the huge snake, which was me. She had a party meeting and her water, broke down, but she didn't want to stop before party meeting was finished because she's very heroic. And when she went to deliver me, I was premature. I have to go to the incubator for like 4 months, and she gave me to her mother, which is my grandmother. So I stayed with my grandmother till I was 6, and I only saw mother and father sometimes, like strange people coming to see me and give me some ugly toys, which I didn't like, because I didn't like to play with the puppets or anything. I like to play with the shadows, and I like to play with the imaginary beings, this kind of stuff. And then I was brought to my house when I was 6. And then I have a very turbulent childhood with lots of control. My mother will wake me in the middle of the night if I sleep not in order to make my bed straight. So now when I sleep in the hotels, I just open the bed and people don't think I'm even there. So I'm very disciplined, lots of kind of work habits. And I start painting. I paint and had my first show when I was 14. I was jealous of Mozart because he started 7 and I think my life was already wasted. And then I finished art academy and I didn't like to paint anymore. I like to experiment. I start with sound installations. One of the first sound work was to put the sound on the bridge with the actually sound the bridge exploding, so that you walking the bridge visually exists, but with the sounds don't. I have to ask the city mayor for the permission. They called my mother and father to say I'm crazy because the bridge can really fall down from vibrations, so it didn't work. And then I started involving my body, and I started really understanding that I don't want to go to studio anymore. I don't want to paint something two-dimensional when I can use fire, water, earth, body, and everything else. And I felt like a first woman walking on the moon doing performances. And it was early 70s. And in the early 70s, everybody think I was crazy. They put me in mental hospital. The criticism so bad, I would never leave the house. But I didn't care. I just was doing my own work. And many times, both parents was criticized on party meetings that this is impossible education I got because, I was burning 5-point communist star on the square and being naked most of the time. Everything was not possible in those days. But that gave me lots of strength. And then I escaped home when I was 29. And my mother asked the police, to look for me. And then the police said, but, Comrade Abramović, how old your daughter is? And she said, 29. And she said, Comrade Abramović, we have much better things to do. Just go home. And I ended in Amsterdam. And since then, last 50 years, I do performance work, which was in my body and working with the immaterial form of art. Okay, short version.
No, that was fantastic. I want to jump into, I would love to give one example. The Rhythm 10, 1973, it is written that this was your first performance in Edinburgh that involved 20 knives. Could you walk me through that one?
Oh, this was a very simple piece. I had 10 knives, big kitchen sharp knives. I had a 2 tape recorder, and I played this Russian game, the stop the knives between the fingers,
yes,
which we do when we drink vodka in Slavic countries. And I put 1 tape recorder on, and I take first knife, and I do as fast as possible. And every time I will cut myself, I will change the knife. So 10 cuts, 10 knives change. And I record the sound. Then I replay the sound of the first tape recorder, and I put on the second tape recorder, and I repeat the entire action one more time, trying to concentrate, to cut myself in the same place from the first time. And I only missed twice, and I done exactly that. And the second time, I left tape recorder playing double sound, and, a little bit blood everywhere, knives, and leave. And the idea of this piece was how we could put time past and time present with a mistake together.
How did you come up with this idea?
I hate studios. I never work in studios. I get ideas from life. I just go and do life. And the ideas can come in bus station, cutting garlic, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the plane, and most of the ideas come in the dream.
Marina, I'd love to chat about how you and Nadya first connected. Actually, but first, if we could chat about Rhythm 0, that was just an insane work of performance art. And I would guess one of your most vulnerable. Can you give us a little details on that?
I was so angry at that time, and I was 23. And I was angry on the, on the public, on the reception of performance art, with completely misunderstanding how this art is actually so important and so direct and so, about here and now. And people was calling us masochist, sadists, and so on. So I was thinking, what if I make very simple performance where I'm absolutely doing nothing? I'm dressed in just a black t-shirt and black jeans, and I have 72 objects in the front of the table for pleasure and for pain, and have simple instruction. I'm an object, 6 hours. You can take any object on the table and use on me, including 1 pistol with 1 bullet, and kill me if you want. And I take all responsibility and see what public can do if you give them entire freedom. And this was a frightening experience, for me, because on the end of this piece, I knew the public can actually kill you. And I'm thinking how this piece will look like now, today in America. That would be a very different outcome. But the thing was in Italy, And the people that project, in the beginning, the 6 hours was very important time frame, because the first few hours people give me the flower, they will kiss me, they will do this or that. Women will not do anything. They will always actually tell the men what to do, and they will take tears off my eyes, something like that. But the actually, as it progressed the evening, they become more and more violent. The rose, they will give me rose, and they will take the thorns of the rose stuck into my body. They will cut my clothes, get me naked. They will cut my throat and drink my blood, and so on and so on. Including somebody came with a pistol. Somebody took pistol away from his head. It was getting very wild. And the projection in Italians done on me, it was 3 prototypes: Madonna, mother, and prostitute. 3 things. And the only time that I was not raped, because they came, for the normal opening with their wives. But then on the end, after 6 hours, I was looking like hell, naked, bleeding, whatever. And the galleries came and said to me, now it's 6 hours past. It was 2 a.m. And I start moving, because I was like a puppet. Whatever you do, I obey. And then I start moving towards the public. And public, like to wake up from some kind of nightmare dream, they started running away from me and run out. And I remember going back to the hotel, looking at myself in the mirror and having a piece of gray hair. And I knew that moment the public can kill you. And this is very important, actually, learning lesson, because I give possibility to public to also load the spirit. I give them every possibility to live the spirit and load the spirit. But then 25 years later, when I made Artists is Present, I restrict everything to the public. They can only sit on the chair. They can't touch me. They can't talk to me. They can't do anything except have the eye gaze. That was it. But eyes are like, the door of the soul. And they could do only that. And then actually I learned how to live the spirit. And it took me 25 years to learn this lesson.
I think it's important for people to understand why we do things that we do. And Kevin, coming back to your question, how did we get connected? I feel like we just understand each other on this performance art level, and we both seen so many people just looking down at us as some crazy people, and like a lot of people like literally want to institutionalize me or put me in jail. That's what was done to me. But in reality, when I feel we share it, like when we think about our performance art, we're pretty serious about it, and we pick the idea and we think about this idea for weeks and sometimes months, and sometimes we sit an idea for years, and then after that we decide the idea is good enough to be executed. And then on the outside it might look like a total fucking nut house, but in fact, like for us, this is just like, this is to me, honestly, to write an article might be a more crazy thing than to make a performance, because I personally think that performance art has bigger impact and can analyze culture and deconstruct culture better than an article. And in that sense, making a performance art is more sane act than to just write an article.
But if visually, in my mind, I put some kind of pyramid of art. For me, at the top of the pyramid has always been music. The second is performance, and then everything else. But the first is music, because with the sound is the most immaterial of all. A sound reaches everything and everybody, and it goes straight to emotional impact on something. And which I like about you, that you have a courage, dedication, and you're not afraid of anything. And this is something that I absolutely, absolutely adore, my dear, because there's not many people like this. And when I was talking about this whole idea of the new heroism, you are really one of my heroes, and been for forever. Because you started so young. I mean, the first time, how old you was when you went to jail?
I started to get arrested when I was 18. I turned 18, but I would get arrested for a day, for 2, and then I was arrested for 2 years when I was 21.
That's really, really young. That was really incredible. And, and you don't give up. something about two of us, we never give up. I can't give up. I have to just continue. The question of giving up is not the question. Kevin, what do you think about two of us?
You're inspirational. I mean, I think that you're right. I agree with Nadya's comment on, the written word, especially these days with people bouncing around so quick and not even fully reading an article because their attention spans are so short. The fact that you all, are using this form of art to relay a message or have a deeper impact in people's lives, it's much more tangible. It's much more real. So to me, I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I'm watching both of you and what you've done throughout your careers. It's inspirational.
What do you think our role should be in Web3? And by saying that, obviously, you're not going to prescribe it to us, but it's going to be interesting to hear your perspective.
The beauty of Web3 in my mind is that we have yet another new medium in which we can collaborate and bring together ideas, hopefully in a way that's never been done before. And there is a chance to have a little bit of a reset in some of our thinking and, change and shift the power back to the artists, which I think is a very important piece of this movement, is that you finally, for the first time, it feels that, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always been, art tends to, the value accrual of art has always gone to the collectors, and largely after the artists have passed away, right? So this idea of technology enabling artists to actually not only make a living, but fund and fuel other artists and power the arts in a new way is very, very exciting. So, this idea that we all can actually use these revenues to then spin up and power up even greater and greater expression is why I get so excited about the space. And so to see you all entering it, and it's really, really pretty cool.
There is this saying, the good critic is life critic, and good artist is dead artist. You have to die in order that something will happen. And there's another incredible thing, especially in America, 85% of collectors are also the patrons of the museum. So they're totally in control, what they're buying, what they're collecting, and what's going on. So that the artists have such a little control about anything.
Yeah, it's great to see that shifting.
It's incredibly interesting to me to see in this artwork that you're about to auction, that you're about to drop on Tezos on July 25th. I can't wait. It's really interesting for me to see how you work with performance art and how you work with something that is immaterial and how you mint it on blockchain. And it seems to me really innovative and amazing that you can mint just one shot of the video, or you can mint as many as you want, and then they're going to turn into a GIF. Because as a performance artist myself, I've been thinking a lot about the relationships between the art market and the fact that as artists, we are living and breathing beings, and we have our own needs in our lives and funds to create more art. And I was always thinking a lot, obviously, about relationships between performance art and how immaterial it is, and collectors who obviously, for the most part, want to buy something physical that they can put in their house. So I think Web3 and possibility of minting performances on blockchain unlocks something interesting for performance artists.
Because blockchain is still immaterial, You're not producing actually goods. You not need nail to hang the painting who can match your carpet in the living room. You're not doing that. You're actually going for ideas. And to me, it's so interesting connection between 70s and now and the same problems with the people having now. I mean, they're ridiculous. Art scene don't accept them, and the art galleries don't want to deal with that. So it's the same what happened to me in the 70s. And I think that we need to really give time. That will be the part of the mainstream art, but we need time for that. Right now, it's too early. I remember, to me, the story of video. I remember video was like never been part of any kind of mainstream art. It was kind of not even any kind of art till Namjoon Paik arrived, which was a great artist who actually filmed the Buddha, put into the video, into the monitor, and have a real Buddha facing that Buddha. And it was like, wow, what is this happening? Now we are making art, and everything changed. And the young kids, which is incredible for me, how the kids who are doing this blockchains, how young they are. We're talking 8 years old. We're talking 12 years old, 14, 15. This is the future. These kids are brought up with technology. It's not new with them. For me, the computer was invention. I was writing letters and bringing it to the post office with a stamp. And now these kids have all this technology as just a kind of normal thing for them. So they can think much more in advance, and they can find a solution who can really change this world. And I really believe in them. I don't believe in my generation. My generation fucked it up so badly already.
I think Web3 provides such a big opportunity for performance art and for conceptual artists as well. So I refer to myself as a conceptual artist, and I feel like this space values idea much more than craft necessarily. And I would always personally struggle with the importance of craft, because I'll try to explain to people I can use any medium I want I think that will be good for this idea. And I feel like sometimes things that do well in Web3, they execute it in a really ugly way, but they have great idea and people love it because of the idea.
I just want to say, against 70s, we had such a bad technology. We have the shitty Super 8, then we have the bad video, and then we had the great ideas in those days. And then later on, the people have a great equipment. Every the iPhone camera is better than what we had in the 70s. And they made shitty works and no content. So now we have to really wait. Doesn't matter the how it look like. The idea is important to me. What that idea have to say, what the message we can have, what we can learn from it.
The question I have for both of you as performance artists, I'm curious, how do you in your head come to terms with the difference between someone experiencing your artwork live and the impact that has, and the kind of gravity that type of in real life experience brings, versus a recording of it that eventually goes on the blockchain? That do you believe that it loses some of that when it goes to it's a digital format and then goes out on the blockchain?
I'm a big fan of recording. I started as a performance artist in 2007, and from the very beginning, I started it when I was 15 years old, but it was just like my own stupid little kid art practices. But I was already documenting stuff. I was already asking my friend to document that. I think documentation is incredibly important, and because you can connect with just a few people in the room. And I don't think it's like there's a right or wrong answer. It's just the way we approach this medium. And for me personally, recording was a very important part of the process. And sometimes we would perform in such dangerous locations where you cannot actually bring equipment. So for example, we would stage a concert. We've never been a punk band. So it's like the biggest misunderstanding about Pussy Riot that we are a punk band. We conceptual performance artists who pretended to be a punk band for a second. So sometimes we would not be able even to bring equipment to play music. Let's say when we played on the Red Square, we did bring the equipment, but it was arrested immediately. So we didn't actually have the music when we were playing our show in the Red Square. And so we put it later on the recording. And I think that video that we ended up producing has more value, and it's like the most finished artwork. So to me, the recording is important.
My view that both works and they're complementary to each other, because it's really important that you actually spread ideas as much as possible and wide as possible to internationally everywhere, from the New Guinea to the Iceland. And then, whoever is, when you're live, after people really like what you're doing, they will make effort to come to see you live when you can.
I'd love to talk about the project that you're currently releasing, Marina, because this is your first, what they call the Genesis NFT, which is your very first drop, which is super exciting because the collectors get obviously really pretty pumped up and excited about first drops. It is called the Hero 25 FPS, which of course stands for frames per second. Can we speak about what exactly this image is and how it works? And then you both are collaborating on this as well. So I'd love to hear about how that collaboration is happening.
The Joseph is the one who actually approached me to do really something on the big screens. And then I was thinking what I can do there, what I can have as kind of global message, something about the peace, something about the beauty, something about the optimism that maybe, yes, everything is fucked up, but maybe we have a chance in this planet. And I look to my old material and I believe that work of art can have many lives and can actually reflect in different times, different messages. And there came this idea of the white horse that I actually made 2001 when my father died, and my father was national hero from Second World War. And that image somehow talked to me and about this new idea of heroes, new morality, new wisdom, new the beings who can really give us example of something different. And in the Balkan War, when I was asked to make the piece about Balkan War, but I was so ashamed about my own country, the killing, the violence, and everything. It took me more than 2 years to get something that can be not just message about that war, but universal message. I'm interested in universal message that they can, speak for any war, anytime. Is Iran, is Afghanistan, is Syria, is Ukraine now, or the coming war, because humans never learn the lesson. They continue killing and they continue to go from one war to another. But what about peace? What about tranquility? What about wind and the mountains and the country and the white horse and the white flag would give this kind of feeling of peace, and that we create something that way. I was very inspired by the idea of the Matisse in the Second World War, when all the artists, like from Picasso, painting Guernica and everybody else, was always doing the chorus and reflecting the horror of the war. Matisse, for 4 years, was painting just the flowers. This was his response, and I understand the really deep meaning of that, because we need the beauty and we need the hope and we need some kind of optimism. And this is why I think that these horses have a chance.
When we're talking about the actual, what you're releasing and what you're putting up for sale, you're taking each individual frame and turning it into its own NFT. So there are possible 6,500 total frames that are available that will be collectibles. But at the same time, as someone that's interested in purchasing one of these, you can say, okay, I can get a still frame, or I can opt to actually purchase multiple frames, in which case it will turn into an animated GIF that I will then have and can collect. So if you buy multiple frames, I've heard that it's probably 5 or so frames to make a proper looping GIF. But that also eats away at some of the total allocation, right? So if a lot of people buy these animated ones, there'll be obviously less than 6,500 total NFTs because people will be purchasing multiple frames all in one go. It's a pretty interesting and novel mechanic. I've never heard of anything that's done like this before, which is kind of exciting. It's like, in one sense, do people, if people are more greedy and they want more animated frames, they can buy larger chunks of time, but that means there's less available NFTs for everyone, right?
That's true. But I really, I discussed this with Joseph, and we came to this solution because, as I said, I'm so new in this, and I also have the black and white footage, but I also have the color footage, which very close up, that only the face and the flag, which I never released and never actually was the part of 2001 work. So that's also part that you can separately buy. But basically you buy movement if you want, or you buy stills. And this is something we have to see what will happen. I'm totally new territory for me. And a very interesting outcome. But I also know that this will also serve good cause.
Yeah, Nadya, do you want to talk about the use of proceeds and what your involvement in all this, and when the revenue starts coming in, how exactly does that spread out to other people?
So the portion of the drop is going to Heroes project, and me and Marina are going to pick artists. You can submit your project at nft.circa.art, and at some point, me and Marina will just go through it and decide who are going to be the recipients of the grant.
I think it's incredibly exciting. There's no gender limit, that we have a really possibility. Somebody 8 years old who become a genius. I mean, honestly, who knows? I will be so excited to see, because your young minds are fresh minds, and we have to trust them.
And I think we are going to be giving priority to artists who try to change the world for the best, because Marina wrote in her articles and manifestos and press that you've been doing recently that you've been inspired mostly by artists who don't do something just for the sake of self-expression, but also to change the world for the better.
Yeah, it's really important. You can't be selfish. There's something that both of us very, very strongly have in common. Communism have bad parts, but also have good parts. What we do in communism, we believe in cause. And the purpose.
Exactly.
If we don't believe in the kind of our pretty us and benefit of our being, the whole idea is to give everything for the higher purpose than our private life. And this is really something that I've been living with this all my life. And I'm not interested in the little call. I'm interested in big question, big picture, always big picture.
It's incredibly interesting topic. I've been bringing it up a lot in my conversations recently, and I came to the same exact thought that it's something that my Soviet past. I mean, I was born in '89, so I didn't see exactly how it was evolving, but obviously Russia is still post-Soviet country, so we have a lot of that in our culture. And I refer to myself often not even as an artist, but as a cultural worker, because I believe that my job is to analyze, make things better, try to help other people to live better lives. And my role here is utilitarian in a way that I'm not an art for the sake of just blind self-expression. And I care about my emotions only when they help carrying other people into something greater and bigger. So that's why I personally have a lot of problems with just, all this talk about classical romantic artists being just I just had this feeling and I needed to express it. But did you think about, do you need to express it? Who benefits from you expressing it?
Also the funny aspects of the communism. You had in a ex-Yugoslavia press, like a title, our iron factory explode and 5,000 people die, but we will not stop our production and we will be on time and we will deliver what we promise. I mean, and then another joke about that. He said, what will happen if communism arrives in Sahara desert? He said, first 5 years, nothing. And then we will run out of sand. That's a joke.
Exactly. This is my approach to art.
I love communist jokes. I mean, I brought up on this. Oh, the absurdity, like we run out of sand because everything is insane. It's not straight line of thinking, and it's full of contradictions. But there is also some beauty in all this.
I personally would prioritize women and non-binary people and LGBTQ plus folks, just because this is my lens in the space. And I'm just I'm going to be curious to hear your, Kevin's thoughts on diversity, because I know in your Moonbirds community, you're trying to think proactively about diversity and you recognize that it is the problem in Web3.
Anytime you start off with something that is created by and guarded by largely white men, which, I would say technologists in general are. It's a technology that, attracts that type of person. And we had a meetup in New York recently, for the NFT NYC event, and I looked out on the audience, and it was largely a sea of white men. And so, this is an opportunity to, for us to, let me take a step back. I will say that in my experience, I've been very lucky to work in several organizations where they put a real big emphasis on diversity and inclusion. And those organizations not only have better ideas, but they're just, because you are the product of the sum of the parts of the organization. And when you have more diversity and outside thinking and cultural diversity, the product is just a better product. And so that is something that when I think about how we show up as a community and as an organization and as a supportive structure, which is what we're trying to do with NFTs, we need to encourage this because it is going to create just a better atmosphere, and one that is hopefully going to benefit, more than just rich white men, right? So we can do better, and the only way to do better is to take action, but also we'll start by talking about it, and then watching where your feet actually move and making sure they're actually moving in that right direction. It's not just talk; it's actually we haven't announced this yet, but I know you're hinting at it a little bit, Nadya. So in that,
I'm hinting. Is it the right time to announce?
Yeah, I think we are going to announce it by the time this is out. So we'll have given 400 of our NFTs that on paper, at least today, are worth several $1,000s, $4,000 or $5,000.
More than $3,000. Like
yeah, per NFT.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
so
it's $4,000. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll giving away 400 of those to organizations like Unicorn DAO and other organizations that are representing these groups that, frankly, we don't have the connections to. And so we realize, like, who am I to go out and try and pick people? Like, let's give them to the organizations that are doing this good work, and help them and deputize them to go out and nominate people that should receive these, so that we can create a more inclusive, supportive structure. So that's what we set out to do. So I'm pretty excited about that.
So Marina, what's happening here is Kevin and Moonbirds are giving us as Unicorn 50 oddities, and each oddity is an artwork that as of now costs around $4,000 or $5,000. And we're going to be picking by hand people who we think are good recipients of those oddities, and then they can decide if they want to keep it, they want to sell it. I mean, obviously, we are going to be encouraging them to keep it because we want to have them as a part of Moonbird's community, but they can opt and to sell it as well and just get the money. And I would love to give it to people who showed up. For example, we've made this action in Texas State Capitol. It was before the Supreme Court decision, but it was done in a moment when we already knew that it's coming. And we collaborated with this collective of indigenous feminists. It's called IKEA Collective, and they're so brave and so professional as activists and so organized. And obviously, they didn't ask anything back for their participation in this performance. We showed up with a big banner. It was 45 feet tall banner, matriarchy now. And they could be arrested. We didn't offer them anything besides, let's get arrested together. And I want those people to win, and I want those people to be part of Web3 community.
This is very noble thing to do. Absolutely. But I really love your engagement. I like how you think, and I like how you use this platform. But I will never forget my memory, the first time I met you, when you came to New York for the first time in your life. And you was very few days here. And then I was thinking, what you going to see, what you going to do in New York in these few days, going to whatever museums, seeing the city. And you was just going and looking the prisons and looking how
I went to Rikers.
It was incredible. You're so young, never been in America, and you come here, and all what you've been spending your time in the prison. They say so much about you, so much of your dedication and engagement. Really, you impress me every time. And about this, just now you told me.
Thank you, Marina.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want to take up too much of both of your time because I know it is valuable. I want to tell people about this drop, and then I actually ask Marina. I'm just curious, after this one is done, which this one's going to be happening on July 25th. Do you think you'll do more in the world of NFTs, or will this be just kind of one and done, or what? Too early to tell?
No, first, as I say, I'm a virgin in this media. First, let's see how this goes. And my second thing is to go and learn from our pussy rights, to learn absolutely about technology and to meet these people. I want to meet them personally. I want to know who these guys are. I want to know what they're up to. I really need personal meetings, Zoom or every other form. I wanted to get involved in this community much deeper. It's not as a viewer, to interact. That's important. And I can see what I can do. One thing that I like about my age, I have lots of experience and I can share this. But the young people can give me sense of spirit of time we live in. So it's a kind of fair exchange. And we have to do this exchange. That's important.
We've been talking with Marina about potentially doing something in Marfa.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Art blocks. Yeah, at Derek's gallery. Maybe something during Art Basel. And I know that Marina mentioned she also has this shot, just an individual photograph. And we were talking about maybe later auctioning it off as one-of-one.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'll be at both of those events. So I hope to run into Marina and Nadya. I see you every few weeks anyway, so I'm excited to see you and collaborate more with you in the future.
Nice to talk to all of you. And Nadya, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you.
I love you so much, Marina.
All right, that is it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you would like to help us out, head on over to proof.xyz and click on the reviews button at the very top and leave us a 5-star review. Thanks so much. Take care.